Hi, teachers. So this is a little bit out of order of some of the distance learning stuff I was doing. However, this is still a good tool for that. But I want to go over one of the apps that I really like that I think gets missed a lot, which is Science Journal. And this is a Google app, and I don't think it gets a lot of publicity about using. And it's something, even if you're not a science teacher, especially with math, it's something that in different areas can be really cool. And so I want to go, I've got my phone up on the screen here, iOS and Android, just like always. You can use it on iPads or whatever you or your students have access to. I've used this with my students on their own devices as well as showing them things on mine. And the reason why this popped up for me the other day is because as I'm getting this channel going, I was trying to figure out about acoustics for my home office, which is where I record these videos. And I was debating, well, maybe I should move my recording into my guest bedroom and use that where I can close the door because my office doesn't have a door to it. I have two cats. There's lots of noises that go on around here. And as I'm trying to improve my setup and improve my quality, that's something I wanted to consider. But I also had another thought as I was doing some research into different acoustic DIY things because I like to build things. So one of the things it was talking about was using towels and old clothes to pack a board to make your own soundboard, essentially, to dissipate sound. And I realized I have a relatively small walk-in closet that might work really well. But I don't want to just move and start recording things. So I thought, well, how can I test this out? How can I be scientific? And I remembered, oh, wait, I have this app. So I actually took this app the other day, and I'll show you one of my recordings, and then I'll show you how to use the app. So it'll save, you can save all of your experiments, which is kind of nice. And so what I've got here is different recordings. I'll show you how you can record, but you can record on the app these different experiments that you do for data logging purposes, which is really nice to go back in and see things. So you'll see I've got recording 2, 3, and 4. I deleted recording 1 because I messed up on it. And so what I did here was I actually took a recording. So recording 2 was in my closet, and I wanted to test sound. And recording 3 was in my guest bedroom, and then recording 4 is in my home office where I'm recording this right now. And it's kind of nice because it shows you the minimum, shows you your maximum, and then you get your average there. Now, what I did, you're going to see the same 2 spikes at the beginning of each one, and that was my phone vibrating, letting me know that the recording had begun. And then I used the same sentence 3 times. So what I did was I got a few seconds of silence just to see what the levels were. And then I repeated myself 3 times, and then a few more seconds of silence before closing it off. And so that way I get some consistencies here. Now, you'll notice that my guest bedroom, in terms of average, my guest bedroom and my closet were almost identical. However, the thing that jumped out to me was that in my closet, the minimum was a lot lower. So that told me that it was really blocking out some extra sound that I wasn't aware of, and some background noise and things like that. So this is something that if your students are interested in social media and content and things like that, this might be something good for them to do where they can actually go back and look at the data. Maybe they're debating about starting a YouTube channel, right? Or where's the best place for them to record their TikTok videos to block out sound and things like that. And this is a cool experiment that they can do, and they can go look at data. And the most important thing to me about this is this makes data real. And that's something that I really strive for my students because data can be boring. I'm a nerd. I love data, but data can be super boring. And so anything I can do to make data real for my students and visual and get them to understand it is something I really want to do. So I did this the other day, and I saved this to show you, but also so that I can show my students. And I'm going to make a little video, post on Google Classroom for them as well. So when you open Science Journal, these are just experiments I've got saved, but if you want to start a new one, you would just click your plus right here. And then you can add notes for observations. You can take pictures, you can add images, which is really cool depending on what you're doing. But all the sensors are going to be in this button right here. So when you click on this button right here, it's going to open up. Now, there's ambient light meter and lux. So if I go ahead and cover the light meter on my phone, which happens to be at the top and the front, I'm using a Galaxy Note 8, right? Then you can see it drops down, but when I move it away, it moves consistently up. If I want to record this data, this could be something really cool, depending on what you're doing in class. You would just click this record button right here. And what this will do is it'll start recording all the data for you. And it'll give them a real-time graph. It also scales as it goes, which can be good or bad depending on what you're doing. But it's just kind of nice. It could be a good introductory to graphing, could be a good introductory to data in general, could just be something to make them visualize things or help with observations, which is really nice. And then when you stop it, it keeps going. This is just live, but your recording is up here and you can delete it. You can edit it. You can do whatever you want with it. You can see the other sensors it's got right here. Now, I will say that access to these sensors will depend on your student's phone. So you will see some of these. We did have some issues where my students' sensors, either they had a different phone or an older phone, didn't work properly or possibly measured things a little bit different. So that's one thing to be aware of. But I'll show you another lab I did with it, which was pretty cool, that really helped some different issues. So anyway, this is the one that I was using. So there's our sound intensity. You can see as I'm talking, the decibel range changes. If I stop, then it's around that 11, 12 range as I'm talking more. Obviously, if I get a little bit closer to it, the intensity will change. But this was that sensor that I used to record that. They can also use it to check different tones, which is kind of nice, and it shows you the notes and things here. I'm not a musical person, but for those who are, or again, different science experiments, especially in high school and physics, right? Different frequencies. This is something that could be really cool. I currently teach middle school, but with my high school engineering students and physics students, this would have been something that I would have used a lot. That was pretty cool. Here we have an accelerometer. And so we've got a linear accelerometer. My phone is just sitting on the desk right now, but if I go ahead and shake it around, it's going to show me. And this is something you could easily do if you wanted to put your students and have them race, right? And then go back and record the data, and you could see their acceleration in here. Something
could be really nice when you're teaching forces and motion to, again, make it a little bit more realistic to them. You've also got accelerometer
in specific directions, X, Y, and Z. The other thing I was thinking about, because I like to do an egg drop with my engineering students, so I could challenge them to do a phone drop, which might make it a little bit more real if you don't have the stomach for that, which I totally understand. Something would be really cool would be to set your phone on the table right next to where they're dropping it. Put the phone in something protective, obviously, so you protect from any egg blowback. But if you were doing some type of thing like that, or you wanted to do something about protective materials, again, for engineering or STEM type projects, you could easily put your phone on a table next to it or wherever you're dropping, and you could do a little bit of vibration data and find out which one had the greatest impact when it actually hit the ground and which one had the least impact when it hit the ground. You can analyze some different materials doing it that way. So that's something that might be kind of cool. Here's a barometer if you want to look at pressure. Again, if you're doing weather, that would be something really cool. And even for younger students, even if you weren't actually doing this, having them use it, you just want to show them something. The compass. The compass was really cool. And this was where I first really started using this, because there's a lab that we were supposed to measure the force of a magnet over a distance. And the compasses that we had, we figured out later, came packaged with our magnets. And if you know anything about science, that's probably not a good practice. And so we're a little bit concerned that maybe the polarity of ours switched a little bit. We weren't getting consistent results. And all you do, and I'll put a video of that on there up here somewhere, but all you do is start your magnet basically right next to it so that you see the deflection in the needle initially. You obviously want to know where north is. And then as you pull your magnet away, then you would see the change in the needle. And so you would take measurements maybe 1 inch away or 2 centimeters away or whatever you're doing, however you're handling that. And you would log it, and then you would be able to see that as you moved your magnet away, the force decreased over time. We were having problems again with our compasses. So I had my students pull out their phone, and we all did it with this. Now, this is one where some of them had better magnets, better magnetic compasses than others. And so for some students, it didn't work. So we had a little bit of guess and check here to figure out which ones worked. But again, that got us around, and that gave us much more consistent results doing that lab, which is really cool. This is just a straight magnetometer. So you can actually measure the strength of a magnet. Again, some nice data, strength of different kinds of magnets, different directions. And again, you can pull it away and you can see some different things happen there. So there's some really cool stuff that you can do with this, and it logs the data for you, which means you can go back and you can set it up then. If you go into your settings, you can see all the different ones, so you can do some different things. I haven't played around with the Arduino boards. That's going to be next up on my list for sure. But you can see the different internal sensors that yours have, especially if any of yours aren't showing up. You could look at this and see if you've got anything there that maybe isn't shown for some reason. And then you could share this data. So you could export it, which would be kind of cool if you wanted to send it out to be seen potentially on a, so if I save it to my drive, and so an export, and there's a CSV file, which is great because if I want to go ahead and analyze it in a Google Doc, I can just go to my Google Drive. There is the untitled experiment because this is the folder I selected. It's in a CSV file, so I can open it up. And if I just want to view the data in its raw format, here it is. I can obviously go ahead and I can open it up with Google Sheets into a spreadsheet. If you've ever used CodeApp, CodeApp's a great app for visual data analysis. Takes out some of the organization issues. I'll do a video on that as well as how I use it. But there's our timestamp. There's our light sensor. Might have to do a little bit of formatting on the timestamp, but still, if you're looking for something simple that students can see and they can understand, then here it is. And this is something you can do relatively easily, and it's just a great tool. And then you can go ahead and graph this or analyze this, do whatever you want. But overall, I think Google Science Journal is not only overlooked, but I think it's something that can make data very accessible to students. We've got these powerful devices in our hands and in our pockets, and I think so many times we focus on what they can do without thinking about the sensors that they have built into them to let us do all of those things. And that's something that the students usually are pretty interested in too. When I showed them that their phones could do all this, I mean, I had them going on for days. They were coming back and showing me, hey, look what I was able to do, and look what I was able to do, and look what I was able to play around with. And just to get them excited about that was something really cool. So if you have questions on this, if you need more explanation on it, please leave comments so that I can go ahead and address those for you in the form of responses or more videos or whatever it is you guys want to see. And as always, talk to you soon.